I mean, that's a lot of dough. A $250 million Senate race in an off year in Texas, Anna. That ain't chump change.
Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, we've got some news inside the Republican effort to rescue John Cornyn. Number two, it's a big inflation report day today. And number three, veteran Texas Lloyd Doggett is laying down a marker in response to the Texas GOP redistricting efforts. All right, Jake, let's get into it. We are leading Punchbowl News AM with some big news here. We have been talking for weeks, maybe months now, about John Cornyn and his troubles fending off a GOP primary challenge by Attorney General Ken Paxton in the state. And now the Senate Leadership Fund has the data out to its donors, urging them to spend big on this race because, indeed, Cornyn is in trouble.
Yeah, this is a huge story for us and a huge story for Senate Republicans. Let's just be clear about what they're saying. SLF, the Senate Leadership Fund, the John Thune and Senate Republican leadership-backed super PAC, says it's going to take tens of millions of dollars between now and the end of the year to rescue John Cornyn.
It's stunning, given the fact that he, has been in Congress. It's not like he needs to be introduced to the Texas,
voting
constituency
population
at this point.
Yeah, well, he does
crazy.
Because Texas voters do not believe he's conservative, and they believe Paxton is. And the polling, Anna, is just stunning. The average of several polls that we run this morning have Cornyn losing by an average of 17 points. 17 points in an average of 13 public or private polls. 58% of primary voters don't believe Cornyn is conservative. And I mean, by any traditional metric, Anna, he is pretty damn conservative. I hate to put a marker on it, but I mean, this is not somebody, he gets knocked for a couple things. Number one, the bipartisan chips bill, which he was very integral in. We covered the heck out of that back in the day. The gun bill, which he did with Democrats in the Biden era. And listen, he was in Senate leadership, but, if you look at it objectively, he was somebody who helped get Trump's agenda through the first time during the first time, meaning the first Trump administration, as the Senate Republican whip. Now, it's important to note, the White House is not endorsed here. The White House has not come out in favor of Cornyn, and we've reported, many, many times the White House is trying to see if he could rescue himself before wading in, if they wade in at all. But Paxton, the concern here, Anna, and I'll flip it to you after this, the concern is that if Paxton wins the primary, it's going to cost, I think we put a number to it, $200 million to $250 million to boost him in a general election in Texas. That's a lot of dough. A $250 million Senate race in an off year in Texas, Anna. That ain't chump change.
No, it isn't, and it just showcases, I think, the fact that you've got SLF out there urging donors to get active to support this race, $25 to $70 million to help Cornyn win the GOP nomination is what they are predicting. And then, as you know, $200 to $250 million in Texas. This has been, obviously, we both, and I have been covering this for a long time. What Texas Democrats have been saying it's going to go blue for as long as I can remember. It has not. And this comes as this whole effort and this focus clearly by the Trump administration on redistricting there, because they think that they can squeeze out several more Republican seats by changing the map. So it's not as if the Trump administration isn't paying attention to Texas. The decision to not endorse is a clear marker that they don't see necessarily a pathway for Cornyn or want to kind of figure out what the future is for Paxton here.
I'm not making a prediction here, but we could leave it on this. If Paxton wins the nomination, again, I'm not predicting he will or he won't. I'm just saying if he does. And you have a couple of these softer Republican seats because of redistricting, because of the mid-decade redistricting that they're doing. Democrats are going to pour in literally zillions of dollars.
Zillions, with a Z.
to try to make this redistricting push backfire. because they're going to say these seats are softer. We have a, ramped up electorate for Colin Allred, Tallarico, one of these Democrats that could finally win a Senate seat. And they're going to pour money into some of these House races. And by the way, there's already going to be huge Democratic turnout in a midterm, in big cities, in exurbs and suburbs. I mean, listen, I've heard Texas is going blue for like a zillion years also, Anna. So like I'm not persuaded by it, but it will be interesting for our Texas bureau, which I'm not sure we don't have, but maybe we will this cycle.
No. All right. Moving on.
Fun though. Can I move to Austin?
Moving on. All right, we are on to the number 2 story of the morning. It's inflation report day. The politics are already in full force. August recess notwithstanding, our very own Vault policy coverage lays out the political stakes here as the Bureau of Labor Statistics is set to release July's edition of the Consumer Price Index at 8:30 a.m. We don't always put a ton of coverage into these reports, but it is interesting because there's been a lot of back and forth on whether or not Trump's policies, particularly when it comes to trade, when it comes to tariffs, are they going to be inflationary or not? This will be the latest indicator of whether or not inflation is happening here in this country.
Yes, all of the above. And this will impact, this has become one of the major issues of the Trump presidency, and data is not something that Trump likes when it doesn't cut his way. And Brendan has a great headline on the top of this item, a super chill, low stakes inflation report. And the climb upward has renewed, as Brendan writes, the Fed's deep-seated fears of inflation or more stagflation, and prompted the central banks to keep rates unchanged for the length of Trump's second term. We should note that Trump announced the new BLS leader, commissioner, E.J. Antoni, who was at Heritage, someone who, if you watch CNBC or you read, in this job, I have the great fortune of reading a lot of conservative and progressive liberal economic analysis. So E.J. Antoni is somebody who I have come across over the last couple decades. But listen, the tariff regime has, according to a lot of senators, we quote Bernie Moreno in this, has not had an appreciable impact, if you listen to them, on economic data. Today will be just another notch there in figuring out if it does. And I think a lot of people are, the markets will be closely watching this, and as will Washington.
All right, let's run to the number 3 story of the morning. Back in Texas, but drama happening on the Democratic side. Representative Lloyd Doggett has all but declared war against Representative Greg Casar after the new proposed Texas congressional map looped the 2 Democrats into one district. This is just fascinating, Dem on Dem, kind of political violence going after each other, with Doggett putting down the stake here. You've got the Texas state Democrats fleeing the state in order to not certify the new kind of redistricting efforts. But Doggett is not taking any chances, saying he wants to stay in his district and Casar should go somewhere else.
Let's just lay this out very clearly. Lloyd Doggett is a veteran of the House. I think he was elected. I should check. I think it was in 1994. Came to the House in 95. He is 78 years old. Greg Casar, the chair of the Progressive Caucus, is 36 years old. They used to split Austin. Doggett had the western portion of the city, a huge chunk of the city. Casar had a district that kind of snaked around the highway in the eastern part of Austin. They have moved Casar to a district that is a San Antonio area district. Doggett says, I remain hopeful that Casar will not abandon his reconfigured CD 35, in which he's the only incumbent.
Not so subtle language there.
Let's just be clear
Doggett.
there. Doggett's making the case that Casar can make this district competitive. It's a Trump plus 10. Casar is a progressive. He's not going to make this competitive. Or at least if he is, we're in for a cycle in which Democrats could pick up a lot of seats. So the interesting thing that Ali and I and Brez and Max and Andrew keep talking about is whether this redistricting fight, this Casar-Doggett fight, will draw in and drag in additional members who say, all right, Lloyd, it's time to hang it up. You're 78. Yeah. Casar is this up-and-coming progressive leader, and we want him in Congress, and we could do without you. Basically.
I think the other thing, Jake, to think about here
By the way,
and
someone might say that to me and you pretty soon. So
hey, just let me know. I don't have to get up at 4 a.m. anymore. I might be okay with that.
Yeah,
But no,
right.
but seriously, I do think that is important to note, because this to me could become a bigger issue as Republicans, as the Trump administration looks to redistrict, not only in Texas, but in Missouri, in other places. And if they have success there, how does Democratic leadership, how does Hakeem Jeffries, the DCCC, how do they handle this? Because they don't want to have a bunch of Democrats fighting Democrats, right? They want to be united going into this midterm, showing their, as much strength as they can, not the fact that like Dems in disarray and can't figure out who should run in some of these seats. That to me is going to be, the question coming out of this August recess, coming out of this redistricting. Can they work this magic behind the scenes, or does it get pretty ugly out on Twitter and public TV as Doggett and Kassar are right now?
It's already getting ugly in this Doggett Kassar thing. I mean, this is the prime example. There's not a ton more of, I can't think of any off the top of my head on Dem primaries because of redistricting, although it's not over, so who knows what's going to happen. But this is a main, I mean, this is like the heart of blue Texas, right? This is Austin, the capital, a longtime Democrat in Lloyd Doggett, an up-and-coming Democrat in Greg Kassar. This is like this is it. And by the way, Hakeem Jeffries and the D-Trip are going to be under a lot of pressure to pick sides. Like Hakeem Jeffries is going to, but what he's going to say is that Republicans shouldn't be doing this in Texas. We'll see how it shakes out after the court case and after they pass it and after all this stuff. So he has some runway, but at the end of the day, someone's going to have to make a call here. They're going to have to say something, and it's going to be an uncomfortable position for Democratic leadership.
And what did the Democrats in the Texas delegation do? Also worth watching.
I think that's right. Yep.
All right, we are going to leave it there. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, please share it on social media. Follow us on YouTube. You can search Punchable News and subscribe there. We are on video every day, Monday through Friday, like it or not. And if you want to go deeper on all these stories and more, go to punchable.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.